How's it going, everyone? We are back with more lighting tests, this time comparing the Active Grow LED grow lights to our Barrina T8 grow lights. So stay tuned for the experiment and the results. We are back with some more lighting tests, and this time I'm really excited because we're going to be comparing grow light versus grow light. So we are comparing the Active Grow 23 watt T5 LEDs that we have seen some pretty solid results out of, and we're kind of bumping it up. We were testing against these Barrina T5s that were 20 watts a piece, and now we're moving down into these Barrina T8s, which are specifically meant for growing produce. I forgot the word there. So what we're going to be doing today is I have seeded 20 grams of turnip, actually white globe top turnip. This is a new crop to our grow space per tray. And I'm really excited because these germinated really incredibly fast. In fact, it was a 1-day germination time, which has never happened for any of the brassicas or any crop that we've actually seen in our grow space. Generally, it's about 2 days under weight, but these germinated so fast that we put them into blackout after only 1 single day, which is pretty cool. So we've again got 20 grams per tray. These have gone through a 3-day germination period, which was 1 day with weight and 2 days under blackout. And that is the condition all of these are in right now. And they've actually spent 1 day underneath their designated lights. So these purple trays over here, these are going underneath the Active Grow T5 23 watt LEDs, and the 2 pink trays right here are going underneath our Blurple T8 Barrina lights. Again, like I said, they have spent 1 day under their designated shelf so that we can green them up just a little bit and they look a little bit prettier on camera. What we have been doing as well is we've also started adding nutrients to both of these, and they're both getting the exact same nutrient source, which is Ocean Solutions 2-0-3, which is an organic nutrient to add to these guys and just give them a little bit of a boost and grow a little bit faster. I'm really excited to see how this is going to go because we've been doing these Barrinas versus Active Grow, like I said, with these 20 watts that are not specifically grow lights. So now we're kind of doing the grow versus grow light, and I think this is going to be a lot more fair of a competition between these two. So let's quickly talk about these lights in a little bit more detail. So starting over here on our top shelf, again, these are the Active Grow LEDs. These are T5 23 watt lights. Each one of these lights pulls 21.5 watts and 0.18 amps. The power output on this shelf is 90 to 120 depending on where we position the sensor. And each one of these lights costs a banging $64 per light, meaning it's $128 to run both of these lights. The cost per day to run these lights is 9 cents per day. Down to our Barrina T8s. Now these are 42 watt Blurple full spectrum lights. Each one of these lights pulls 41 watts actual and 0.35 amps. The cost per light is $16.67. So they are still significantly cheaper. In fact, we're running all 3 of these lights for $50.01. So we're still under the cost of one of the Active Grow lights. And the power output is actually very comparable on this test with a power output of 90 to 117 depending on where we position it on the shelf. The cost to run these per day is 25 cents. So it's significantly more expensive to run these per day, but it's a lower upfront cost. I cannot wait to see how this is going to play out. So I'm going to get these put on their designated shelves. Again, remember the purples are going up top with the Active Grows, and the pinks are going down low with the Barrina T8 Blurple lights. One thing I will say is the Active Grow lights are a lot easier on the eyes than these Blurple are. The Blurple are. So the Blurples are just like really harsh on the eyes. They produce great results, but man, they can be like really stressful on the eyes, and that's my one thing that I'm gonna say up front about those lights. And the fact that I do like the actual coloration of the Active Grow. They seem a lot softer on the eyes. I'm gonna keep you guys updated throughout this grow. I'll see you guys probably every 2-3 days, and we're probably gonna harvest this on day 8 to 10, depending on the growth. Last time on our broccolis, we kept letting these grow a little bit too long. So I wanna make sure we get these on the right day where they're not too tall, they don't get lanky or anything. And I think we're gonna get some solid results. So I'll see you guys in a few days. We have made it to day 8 of this grow, and I've gotta say, all of this growth looks extremely comparable. So I think we've got a pretty serious competition on our hands here. So let's go ahead and talk about the Active Grow trays first. Actually, let me take a step back. Let me turn off these Blurple lights because they do cast pretty crazy colors across all these crops. So first, let's start and kind of take a look at all of the heights. I am noticing everything is fairly comparable in all of its growth and height. And overall, it does look fairly even across all of this. Let's go ahead and start over here with the Active Grow LED trays. So these trays are looking really healthy. I am noticing on the ends, everything's beginning to fall over a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and harvest all this today because the crops are starting to get a little bit too tall. This is our first time growing turnips, and I've gotta say, it grew incredibly fast, and I'm very happy with the look of this crop. Taking a look specifically at the color of the cotyledons, I'm noticing a lot of dark looking cotyledons mixed with some lighter looking ones underneath the canopy. As for the sizing, it's a little inconsistent. There's some small, there's some big, but for the most part, I would say they're all about a medium-sized cotyledon, and it does look very quite healthy. There is almost like little rows that I'm noticing on both of these trays that seem to be a little less developed compared to the Barrinas, where they seem a bit more even across all the trays. So let's go ahead and take a look at the second Active Grow tray. Again, very healthy growth. I'm very happy with the cotyledon color. I'm happy with the size, and the undergrowth looks nice and healthy as well. Overall, I think that the crop looks extremely nice. On to the Barrinas. Now, these were the ones that were under the Blurple T8. So as for the coloration on the Barrinas, I do feel like they are slightly lighter in color than the Active Grow trays. I'm noticing a lot of really dark greens on the Active Grow, but over here on the Barrinas, I feel like it's just a shade lighter across the entire tray, which tells me this is slightly lacking on maybe one of the spectrums, and it kind of makes sense because the Blurples are very much in that red spectrum and maybe lacking on the blues. As for the overall health of the crop, everything looks great. I'm very happy with the cotyledon size. The undergrowth does look nice and healthy. There is a little bit of moisture trapped in that canopy, but overall, it looks very happy and healthy and consistent across the entire tray. As for the second Barrina tray, again, that same kind of light coloration on it, but overall, the cotyledon size is really nice, and the crop does look nice and healthy and consistent across the entire tray, though I am noticing still a little bit of moisture kind of trapped within this canopy. So it seems like the Barrinas had a decent amount of moisture compared to the Active Grows, which have none. So that's just interesting to realize that perhaps these cotyledons got too big too quick and cut off a lot of that airflow within the canopy or something of the sort, because these two again had no moisture and these two did. But overall, I think all these trays are extremely comparable. I think the health looks great across all of these. So far at first glance, the two Barrinas seem to be a shade lighter in their coloration than the Active Grow. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to harvest all 4 of these trays off camera, and then we'll talk about the growth, harvest weight, appearance, and taste of this crop after I have harvested all of these. So I'll see you guys in just a moment once I've harvested. I have finished harvesting all 4 of the trays. Now let's quickly talk about you guys smashing that thumbs up button, because it really does help out our channel. If you guys would also be interested, please click that subscribe button, because we do lots of content like this where we do experiments with lights, nutrients, mediums, all kinds of things to teach people how to grow microgreens and compare the results across them. Also click the notification bells. That way you guys get notified when new videos come out. So let's quickly talk about the harvest weights on all of these trays. So starting with our Active Grow lights, which are on this side, and then we've got our Barrina on this side, just so you guys know. But with the Active Grow, we had a harvest weight of 463 grams on one tray and 419 grams on the other tray. So the average for these two groups was 441 grams. Now, something that happened with our Barrina trays that has never happened in our space is they got the exact same harvest weight on both of the trays, and that's literally never happened before. And the harvest weight was 447 grams on each one of these trays. So seeing that be incredibly consistent on these two trays was amazing. So our overall winner for harvest weight was the Barrina trays. Now, there was a little bit of moisture trapped in that canopy, so let's subtract about 3 to 4 grams from that, and it's still going to be the winner in harvest weight compared to our Active Grow. Now let's go ahead and talk about the appearance of all these crops. Everything looks incredibly beautiful, and something I never knew about this crop is that it has this really faint purple stem, which reminds me of purple sprouting broccoli. And I've got to say, I am in love with this crop. If it tastes amazing, I think this is going to be one of my new favorite crops, because I absolutely love purple sprouting broccoli for how they have that purple that goes up into that white, into the green, into the cotyledons, and it just makes for one of the most beautiful crops, I think, in my personal opinion. So now let's talk about each group. On the active grow trays, as you guys heard, there was a big difference. One tray had 463 grams and one tray had 419 grams. So I'm gonna go ahead and subtract some points from the appearance on this because it wasn't as consistent on both of those trays, and we did have a good mix of heights and everything like that. As for the overall appearance of them, I think that it's really pretty, and I do feel like it was slightly darker in its coloration. No, now that I'm holding them exactly side by side, the coloration of these cotyledons are identical. So they are not darker. In fact, whenever I first looked at these at first glance, I thought that they were darker. That is not the case. Overall, though, I am very happy with the appearance of this crop. Again, it's got that beautiful purple that goes up into the white, into that gorgeous cotyledon that is nice and dark and healthy looking. There is a little bit of undergrowth mixed in all of these trays, so that's very even across all of that. So again, the one thing that I didn't like is that one group was a heavier harvest weight, which had basically taller growth and stuff like that compared to the other tray. So it was a little more inconsistent than our Barrina trays. So talking about our Barrina trays, these crops are looking really good. I'm very happy again with that purple that goes up into the white, that goes up into the green cotyledons. Cotyledon color and development is very beautiful. I'm very happy with that. And like I said, the amazing thing was both of these trays were exactly the same. Like, it was extremely consistent across both of these trays, which, like I said, has never happened for having the exact same harvest weight and the consistency of growth. So I'm going to choose for the overall winner of appearance, the Barrina T8 Blurple Lights. Now, I do think that all of these trays look very beautiful, and I am very happy with the growth on all of these, but it was the consistency that really pulled it ahead for the for the Barrina trays. Now let's go ahead and move into a blind taste test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all of these into groups. They're all fairly similar in their height, so I shouldn't be able to distinguish which group is which. I'm going to, the cotyledons love to grab onto each other. I set some aside. Well, I just kind of, I messed up my appearance group there. I tried to do a 50-50 split, and that wasn't very much of a 50-50 split. So the top group will just be there for appearance, even though that's now the ugly group. And the bottom will be for my taste test. What I will do now is blindfold myself. This way I try to eliminate as much bias as possible from this taste test. And Mandy, if you would, please go ahead and select the first group for me to munch. Okay, this is the first group, and this is a milestone in our grow space because I've never tasted or grown turnip microgreens, so I'm really excited to see how this could turn out. I think turnip might be one of my new favorite crops, right there next to purple sprouting broccoli. So let's go ahead and talk about the flavors. It was very crunchy, very juicy. I'm happy overall with the taste of that. I've never tasted turnip before, so I didn't really have a baseline to compare it against. It had a bit of a brassica with almost like a mustard and something else. And overall, I thought that that tasted really great. Okay, group number 2. So again, same thing, very juicy, very crunchy, much more pungent flavor. So number 2 had a stronger flavor than group 1. I'm digging that flavor. I like that one. Number 2 is my favorite. Coffee and turnips in the morning.
That's how you get turned up.
I feel like a turn up. Turn up for what? Group 3. Crunchy, juicy. Good flavor. I don't feel like it was had as much kick as group 2. I feel like group 3 and 1 were the same group, perhaps. Overall, I think it was really nice still.
All right, last one.
All right. Down the chute you go.
We can put googly eyes on those.
Oh yeah, we're supposed to. Those are great comments. Somebody suggested putting googly eyes on these. I think that's like probably the comment of the month. I really genius idea. Can't wait to do it. As for the flavor on that, very crunchy, very juicy. I felt like groups 2 and 4 were perhaps the same, though it didn't have as much kick to it as group 2 did. Oh, it's got a nice, I kind of put it on the back of my tongue right here. It had a bit of a creeping spice to it. That was very nice. Okay, coming back to the light. Slowly open these bad boys up, and here we are. As for the overall flavors, I feel like group 2 was just my favorite overall. As for 1, 3, and 4, they all felt very similar and consistent. Throughout the entire process, I felt that all the flavors were really great, and I think that turnip might be one of my new favorite crops. And I can't wait to just keep playing around with it to see if we can keep manipulating the flavor, like putting these under the 300 watt panel lights. I can't wait to see what happens. Anyways, Mandy, if you would, please point out the order of which we ate all of these groups.
Are you ready for a shocker here?
Yes, I am.
Because your guessing was not correct. So this was group 1.
Okay.
2.
Okay. Okay.
And then here.
4. Okay, interesting. Group 2 was my favorite. So this was I believe the shorter, or the tray that got the 419 grams from the harvest weight on the active grow, which tells me that perhaps because it didn't grow so tall, and in fact maybe had ample, I would guess that that tray was the inside tray that got more light, because anytime a tray gets more light, it tends to stay shorter than the trays that get less light, which tend to get taller. So I feel like this was the shorter group, which gave us apparently a stronger flavor. Now, as for the other 3, they were all very similar in height, and I did say that all the flavors were really great. So the overall winner in flavor was the second tray from the active grow group, though I think the flavors across the board were phenomenal. Now it is time to choose an overall winner. I don't like doing this, but I have to do it. Let me kick back on my light real quick, because it's purty. I like purty lights. Okay, so let's choose an overall winner for this experiment. Let's quickly rehash everything that happened. So the Barrina trays, the Barrina T8 Blurple lights, gave us the highest harvest weight of 447 gram average. Now, subtracting like 3 to 4 grams from each tray for the extra moisture within the canopy, it's still won on harvest weight compared to the active grow. Though the active grow did have one tray that was a banging 467 grams. The other tray just brought it down with the 419. And I think that was from ample lighting, and it just stayed shorter and more flavorful is what we found. So again, overall winner for harvest weight was the Barrina T8s. Overall winner for appearance, I chose the Barrina T8s because both trays exactly the same harvest weight, exactly the same consistency. I'm very happy with that. That's what you want out of microgreens. That's what you want to know whenever you're doing a grow, is that you can get 2 trays exactly the same so that you can plan for that. As for the winner of flavor, I chose the second tray on the active grow group. Though I think all the flavors were amazing across the board, it still did win with that one tray on flavor. So overall winner for this experiment, I'm going to have to choose the Barrina trays. The reason I chose them is, again, the consistency. That's what you want as a commercial grower. You want to have all 4 of your trays being exactly the same height, exactly the same product. You want to get the same consistency day in and day out so that you know what to expect from your crops. As for the active grow, I still think that it did a phenomenal job, but the higher cost and the slight inconsistency between those 2 trays, because one tray getting ample light and one tray being on the end, stretching out like that, just created a little bit more inconsistency, and that's not really what you want. You want some solid freaking growth. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the actual cost of lights. So each one of these Barrinas are $16.67, and I believe that makes it about $45 or something like that, if my math is correct. We are at $50. We're at $50.01 for the 3 lights on this shelf. And as for these 2 lights, they're $64 a piece, which takes this shelf to $128. But the cost to run them, so these 2 lights up here cost 9 cents per day to run, whereas these cost 25 cents per day to run. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna tally up how many days they were in the light, and I'll tell you the total on that.
346 minutes later.
All right, the active grows cost us 45 cents to run these lights for the 5 days that we did this experiment. As for the Barrinas, it cost us $1.25. So it was substantially higher to run these lights because they do pull more watts. But the main thing with the Barrinas is they're gonna be cheaper up front, whereas the active grow are gonna be more expensive up front. So it kind of balances itself out. Do you wanna pay less for the lights up front, get that consistent harvest, but over time you're gonna end up paying more for these lights because they do draw more energy and cost more to run, versus these lights, which can give us some really solid growth, but are a lot cheaper to run in the long term. Both of these lights are rated for, I believe, about 5 years or 50,000 hours. So, I mean, in the long run, you're probably going to be better off with money if you choose the active grow, but again, it's the upfront cost that's really the kind of the killer there. Okay guys, that is it for this experiment. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are between these two trays and your thoughts about the initial cost versus the long-term cost, because we've seen some actually cool equations broken down in the comment section. I really love whenever you guys get active with this and really help out along those lines to help us make some better choices and help the community try to figure out what might be the best fit for them. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, give us a thumbs down. If you would like to, our Instagram and our Facebook are both at On The Grow Farms, and our website is www.onthegrow.net. Thank you so much. Have a great day and keep on believing.